Hey, welcome back to Simple C10, everybody. On today's episode, we're going to install vintage air onto Francis. So it's about 100 degrees outside, and it is time that I install some air conditioning onto this old truck. I got C10s in the city that's coming up in just a couple days, and I'd really like to drive down there with the air conditioning on the truck, but it is Wednesday, it's after work. I'm going to have to cram it in here because I got to go work on Lucky tomorrow at Zach's. So hopefully I can get this air conditioning installed tonight. We'll see. So last year before C10, I was just getting this truck wrapped up. You can go back and watch the videos for that. Got it running and driving, got everything kind of buttoned up, but there was a few things that I'd never finished on Francis. One of those was air conditioning, and I've got a Heritage unit from Vintage Air that I'll show you in just a second. It's a underdash unit. It's different than the SureFit unit that I used on No Association. This one simply just mounts to the bottom of the dash, and it has the vents and everything located in the center. The good thing about this is it's going to be an easy install on the dash and just run the lines out the back. This is AC only, it's not a heat. The only thing is, with a unit like this, you don't get the vents for the front windshield, the defrost vents and things like that. This is just for air conditioner to try to get this cab cool. So we're gonna go ahead and hop right in. I've got a bunch of boxes I'm gonna open up, kind of show you the kit. And I pieced this together with a few different pieces because my Holley mid-mount on the front of Francis already had the AC compressor. So I didn't want to buy a full kit. What I did on this truck, since I already had the AC compressor, I went ahead and bought the front piece that mounts in front of your radiator that has the pieces that you need on that, and I'll show you how to install that. I bought the Heritage unit that just mounts to the bottom of your dash, and everything hooks to the back of it and you just wire it up. And then I bought a universal do-it-yourself hose kit that Vintage Air offers that doesn't require you to clamp the fittings to the airline. It comes with these special little clamps. You've got to have a tool for it. I'll show you that later. But I should be able to do all this at home and then take it over to Zach's, and he can do the pressure and get it aired up and everything this weekend before C10's in the city. Let's go ahead and open up these boxes. I'm going to lay everything out on the table, explain what it is, and start installing this thing. So the first thing we have here is for everything for the front of the truck. It's going to come with the condenser mounting bracket, the condenser, all the stuff that's going to mount up. The hoses, the lines, everything that you're going to need. This is specific to this model truck, so it's supposed to mount up to the front of the truck with ease. I've installed this once on No Association. It was pretty easy. But I'm just going to leave all this in the box for now and open it up later. And we're going to open up the Heritage unit and the other items that we have. Here's the second box, and this is going to be the Heritage unit. So this is going to be your drain plug. I remember seeing that, a drain kit. But this is the brains to the operation. This is the Heritage unit. This is what mounts under the dash with a mounting bracket. This comes in a lot of different finishes, but I like how simple this is just to mount up. It's got the connectors to the back, so we're just going to run a couple of our AC lines to the back of this thing and then run them through the firewall up to the front of the AC compressor. Here's the back of the Heritage unit. So this is the Heritage brushed evaporator, cool only, and there's the number for it. But it has the two lines for the AC. It's got the wiring harness that already plugs in with the relays and the fuses. It just makes everything really easy. And it has a nice guide of how to wire it up. So we'll go ahead and mount it up and run these lines first, and then I'm going to figure out all the wiring to make everything look clean, because all the wires on Francis are brand new. I replaced every single wire in the whole truck. So I want to make sure everything stays clean underneath the dash, and we'll get to that later. I just really love how the front of this looks. I've seen a lot of people take off the plastic piece and they'll paint this the same color as the dash. That looks really good. Hester's done that on some of his builds, and it looks really good. I'm just going to leave this black for now, get everything working. I can always take this off later and paint it if I want to, but I think it's going to be fine just the way that it is. And the good thing about this is you don't need another controller to control the air. It all has the buttons on the front, the on and off, and the cool level, and everything is on one unit. So when you mount it up, you don't have to buy a bunch of extras. You're just plumbing a couple lines, hooking up the wiring, and then mounting this under your dash. Here are the other items that came with the Heritage unit. It's got a warranty registration and installation instructions. It has the mounting bracket, so you mount 2 of these brackets, one on each side, and then it has this middle bracket that you mount somewhere to your firewall or under your dash, and that will mount up the angle that the unit is. So those 3 brackets, it comes with all the hardware and everything. This is a drain kit. All it is to take the evaporation and put it underneath your truck. You drill a hole, it has a grommet and everything, very easy to install. The last thing that I purchased was this Easy Clip universal kit from Vintage Air. And what it does is it has 2 20-foot pieces of air conditioner line. With this Easy Clips kit, it comes with all these different connectors, straight fittings, 45s, 90s, but it has these Easy Clips on there that you can see right here, and you buy a specialty tool that will clamp on those clips onto the line, and it doesn't require you to get one of those big air conditioner clamps that are like $300 to clamp these lines on. You can do it all from home, and it makes it very easy for me, especially because I want to go ahead and do everything that I can from here and not have to measure the line and then take it out to a shop and then have them cut it and crimp it and all that kind of stuff. I like to be able to just do it all from home if possible. So we'll see. This is the first time I've used this kit, but it was about $400 for the line, for the clamps, for everything. Here are the Easy Clip pliers. So when I bought this kit, I didn't realize that you had to have a specific plier to use them, but it has a design that helps really clip these in tight. These are about 80 bucks for these pliers, so get ready to spend it up, but this is something I plan, if this works out, to use for all my AC, because I will be installing AC on Lucky next, and I want to use the clip kit the same way, so good to have. All right, first I'm going to take everything out of this box, unbox it, and lay it on the table over here, get out the instructions, and start to assemble everything just to get an idea of how it's going to install. Those instructions are going to tell me how to hook up everything on the front of the truck. So I will have to unbolt the radiator, and I might have to unbolt the fan, just kind of get everything out of the way for the condenser to get in there. But we'll see. We'll follow the directions. All right, let's check out these instructions. There's the parts. What do we need to do here? All right, it says to take out the OEM battery tray. Well, I ain't got that anymore, so that's gone. And the OEM radiator, we're going to take that out and drill the hole. And then you are going to measure across 2 inches and then down 3 inches from these vents. Drill out a 1.25 inch hole, and then you're going to put the grommet there, and that's where the lines are going to run through the radiator support there. Before we drill the hole and stuff, we're going to go ahead and assemble this part. So we're going to take out those 2 brackets and mount those on there just the way the instruction called. I'm not going to go through every single step. If you buy the kit, you're going to have the instructions, but you're going to use the bolts and washers and all the things that they use to bolt that all together. Follow the instructions here. And then we will go ahead and mount up the dryer, and just pay attention to the flow of the dryer, and you'll mount that there with the hardware, and then we will put the lines in there. We're going to take everything out except the hardware. I'm going to go in here and get these little O-rings. I'm going to make sure we don't lose the O-rings or damage those in any way. We'll need those for sure. Go ahead and put those in the bag. On the picture, you can kind of see these brackets that are on the back side with these on the right side here. So it's actually going to mount up to the radiator the opposite, but we're installing these brackets this way that will push this part further in behind the radiator. So there's the brackets on the side. Here's the brackets. Something I paid attention to whenever I was looking at it, I saw that the two holes that were closer together was on the bottom. As you see right there, those are on the bottom on both sides. So I know I've got that oriented correctly. Be careful with that. I have seen on some installation videos people get that backwards, keep wearing them. So what I want to do is just go ahead and get everything finger tight, and I'm going to come back with a ratchet and a screwdriver and tighten everything up. So these basically just kind of mount together here, and on the instructions it shows that they're going in, ooh, that's hard to tell. It looks like they skip a hole and then go into the second and third hole. Yep. So skip your first hole and they go in the second and third hole here. That. I'm excited to get air conditioning on this thing because the Battle of Bama wasn't bad. It was actually very cool in the mornings when Brian and I drove down there. But golly, this past 2 weeks, it has been scorching hot. And I'm really not looking forward to driving to Atlanta with it being so hot. I mean, I saw the videos of Robbie from United by Trucks sweating in his truck, so I know it's hot down there. About 3 hours away from Atlanta, pretty much interstate the whole way, go through Chattanooga and then head down there, so not too bad of a trip. It will be 2 long trips in a row for Francis though, so it'll be another test. Francis did great on the way to Talladega. I was really surprised. That was the first time that I'd really drove it that far, and just nervous the whole way. You know, when you get into a newer build, I only had a couple 100 miles on that truck, just driving it around the house on back roads to church, you know, just 20-30 minute road trips. There's one day I drove it around about 3 hours to just test it on the back roads, but nothing like a 3 or 4 hour just straight going to somewhere. So I was really happy with how good it did going on that trip. So hopefully it'll be just fine. So I posted day before yesterday that one of these trucks is going to have to be sold when I'm done, just so I can start the next build. That was true. I wasn't kidding around. I'm not sure with Lucky not being done yet. I'm not sure which one I like more. I love Francis, man. It's a great truck. My son can beat around on it. But Lucky, man, there's something about a painted truck. I love patina, but having a painted truck, it's just something different. But also, shiny paint causes stress, as a lot of you guys know. All right, those are bolted on. Step 1 complete. Now we got to flip this thing over and put this other bracket on there, basically the same way that we did that one. Pay attention to orientation. This side has the bracket like this. So we're going to mount that. I believe that's going to go through the first and third hole. So usually I don't talk a lot through these videos. I just, speak up if I need to say something. But a couple people was like, hey man, I like when you do the commentary through the videos, just kind of your thoughts and opinions as you install. I know some people just want to get straight to it, and I've tried to keep my videos that way, of just, hey, here's how you install it, here's what you need to know, and cut the bull crap, and just kind of stick to what you want to watch. I'm not an entertainer for sure. I'm just a normal dude out here. I like dad jokes and puns, but I know you guys don't want to just sit here and hear me the whole time doing dad jokes and puns. But unless you do, comment below if you want more dad jokes and puns. I am working on my dad bod, but I much more consider it a father figure. My boss at work asked me if I'd ever been a waiter before, and I was like, actually no, I kind of thought about it. Why? And he goes, because you bring a lot to the table. And I thought, man, that's really nice to say. I appreciate that. So hopefully you're still watching after those corny jokes. But we've got those brackets installed the way that we needed them. Install the dryer clamps on the dryer using the sheet metal screws. That is these right here. We're going to get the 2 little clamps out to clamp that. And after that, we will start installing the little O-rings and all that stuff. Let's get the clamps. I'm going to go on like this right here. Top and the bottom. Just like that right there. All right, now it's time to put this little piece on right here. And we've got to put 2 number 6 O-rings, which are the smaller O-rings. We've got to put a little bit of lubrication on there and then tighten them down. I'm going to go ahead and get them finger tight, and then I'll get the tools that I need. Got that on there. All right, we've got this ready. I went ahead and unbolted the radiator and the fan and all that stuff. But what I realized is this front piece usually comes with the shear fit kit, and it comes with these pre-bent pieces that usually mount. You drill a hole in the radiator support there. These kind of stick through, and then the lines connect to these along your factory inner fender. Well, these, they would work under the GMSS inner fender, but you've got this big piece kind of sticking out, and it isn't going to give me the clean look that I'm going for on this truck. So I'm going to use that Easy Clip universal kit, and I already kind of put some of the fittings on here to see what way I could run the lines. But I'm just going to run the lines and drill a hole closer to the frame down here, and then 45 off of these through the hole with a grommet on it and along the frame rail. So basically, I'm not going to use these. I'm going to use my universal Easy Clip kit to mount those onto these 2 fittings and run the line where I need it to run without using these. I'll walk you through that. I've got to get this piece kind of bolted into place and then fool around with the fittings and see what's the best way that I can run these lines up to the firewall. On the Easy Clip kit, it gives you a typical hose routing diagram. And we already have the condenser and we already have the dryer mounted on there. And this line is a hard line that I just installed. So what we need to do is use the universal kit to find a fitting that fits up here and lead it all the way to the compressor, and then use a fitting here to run all the way to the heritage unit, and then from here use a fitting and run it all the way to the heritage unit. So instead of drilling the hole in the firewall and running the hard lines through it, we're just going to attach a couple fittings to the condenser and run our hose through the radiator support along the frame into the compressor, and then all the way up to the firewall into the heritage unit. So I know that was a lot of words, but kind of talking through this in my mind, I know I have enough fittings and everything. I might not have enough fittings to do exactly how I wanted to do on the firewall with the bulkhead fitting, but I can just drill 2 holes and put grommets and put the lines through there up under the fender or something. We'll figure that out. Let's go ahead and mount the condenser in there and see what we're working with. I mentioned earlier I went ahead and unbolted the radiator, and I just needed enough where I can angle it up like this to slide down the condenser here. I'm going to take off this top piece because that's where I'm going to really access all the fittings and everything like that. I'm going to just hand tighten them on there, and then figure out where I can run my lines and drill a hole further down under the tub here. We're just going to slide it right in between here. You see the two fittings. Usually those metal pieces would go around, loop around, and then go through the firewall there. But what I'm going to do is on that one and then on this one, put 45s on there and run both of those lines in front of this piece, and then drill a hole as far as I can down here, kind of level with the frame, and then run those lines along the frame and then up to here, and then all the way to the firewall right there, and find a place that I can drill and insert those two hoses. Next up, we have the bracket that goes to your compressor. If you're not running the Holley mid-mount setup, then you might not have this bracket, but we're going to want to install the gaskets first and then put the bracket on there and bolt it down. This bracket is going to be the bracket that has the 90-degree fittings that has the plugs to charge the system up. So we'll install those, and then we will run the lines up to it and cut those to size, and go ahead and clamp in our lines here and then run them inside the cab. I'm just going to install these hand tight for right now. That way I can get the angle that I need whenever I'm running the lines, and then we will tighten them down at the very last whenever I get all the lines in. On the front section right here, I'm just going to test fit a couple of the different angles. I have a 45, I have a 90 that I can use, but I want to just screw those in there to see about the angle of the lines because they're kind of thick. I've got a grommet that I'm going to use after I install the lines, and I'll run the lines through the grommet and then along the frame. It looks like this 90-degree fitting is going to work the best down bottom, and then I'll run a 45 up top to be able to run the line down toward the bottom on the frame. So I'm just going to get the line kind of into this fitting and go ahead and use the easy clips to clip it in. That way I can start running the lines up to the cab and drill the holes through the cab and connect everything to the compressor. So whenever you get ready to install this, there's 3 different size lines. They're pretty easily distinguishable. This is the smallest line, here's the medium size line, and then there's one bigger size that goes directly inside of the cab. But first, we're going to grab these pliers here. That's the easy clip pliers. We're going to grab the connections that slide onto the actual line to clip it on, and then there's something called a cage that slides on and connects. But first we want to lube up the connection a little bit so it slides into the line pretty easy. We're going to take our clips, slide those on first because they won't fit over the end of the fitting. Slide this in, and then we'll put the collar or the cage. I've heard it called a couple different things. We're going to slide that on the end. And what I like about this is there's a specific groove that it slides into to make sure you get it in the right placement right here. You'll see me slide it on. Slides on right there in the groove. And then the clips slide over those, and there's grooves in it that puts it at the exact placement you need. That puts it right on the little rubber grommets or the seals on the connection itself. So we'll grab that. You just take your pliers, and there's a specific way that the pliers work. You use the long end of the plier to go onto the edge to push it up into the clip. And if you look at it, you can kind of see. But from there, you just squeeze it, clip it in, and you'll hear it snap, and you know you have it in the right place. Boom. There it is. Nice. Alright, you'll see that I went ahead and pulled out the condenser again and the dryer, and that is because it's really hard to clamp down these connections from inside of the truck. It is possible, but I just went ahead, I didn't have it bolted in all the way yet, so I just pulled it out and I'm going to bolt it in here. As you saw, I pointed at the dryer. I'm going to use the 45 up top, and that's the one I'm screwing in now. And then I'm going to use the 90 for the dryer right there on the bottom. And I'm going to run those lines through the grommet that I'm going to drill here in just a second. Just tighten these down hand tight. You don't want to tighten them up too much. Now that I have the condenser back in, the radiator's bolted in, and the lines are ready to go, I'm just going to go down. I'm going to drill a hole very similar to where the instruction says. I have a 1.25" hole here with a grommet the right size. I'm going to go from inside the wheel well and drill it very close to the frame and then run the lines through there. Now this was tricky. This was the trickiest part, is getting all the lines through the grommet, because they wanted to kink up, and I had to work them with my hand, and you'll see in a minute I scratched up my hand pretty bad trying to get the lines through there. So just take your time with it, and then once you get the lines ran through, I'm going to run them up to the compressor and then cut them to size and go ahead and clip them in on here, and that way I have all the front lines ran all the way from the condenser to the compressor, and now I'm focused on the lines running from the compressor all the way inside the cab, and then I'll cut those to length inside the cab once we have the Heritage unit done. Now it's time to install the biggest line on the compressor. This line's going to run inside the cab. So we're just going to go ahead and clamp it down to that fitting on the compressor, run it along the frame, and then drill the holes to run it inside of the cab to the Heritage unit. Alright, I've got that line done. It's getting late now, but I wanted to show you, I ran the line along the frame, and now I'm just going to try to find a good spot in the firewall to drill the hole. I don't want to drill the hole in the standard place that's in the nice GMSS panel. I want to run it below that panel and then up through the floorboard. So you'll see here I drilled the holes, and I'm just running it through there with the grommet. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. The only thing left to drill is the drain hole later on, but it looks pretty clean. It's hard to see here because it's getting dark, but I'll show you again a walk around once I get to Zach's. But I just zip tied those lines together, cleaned them up, and ran them along the frame. But I think it looks really good. It doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. I think it's a easy way to run the lines up to the front without trying to loop them all the way around the inner fender and all that. But everything connected well. It looks good. It was pretty easy to do this. Just drilling the holes and running the lines through the holes was the hardest thing. We'll come back to this binary switch. We've got to run 2 wires to the binary switch, and what that does is protect your system whenever there's high pressure or low pressure. So one wire will run to the compressor and then to the binary, and then the other one will run all the way inside the cab. All right, here is the Heritage Series instructions, and basically what we're going to do is mount it to the bottom of the dash. We've got 2 brackets that go on the side, and then 1 long bracket that goes on the back. After we get it mounted up, we'll run our lines to the back, cut those to length and clip those in, and then wire it up. There's going to be a battery for power, purple wire for ignition, a ground, and then the blue wire will go to your binary switch, and then the other side of the binary switch goes to the compressor, that little wire that I showed you just a minute ago. All right, I'm going to get the brackets on this and go ahead and mock it up, drill the holes, and try to get this thing at least bolted in tonight. It's getting late already. got that mounted in there. It's looking good. Pretty simple to do. Now I've got those lines that are running in. I just need to cut the line to the right length and bolt it all in. Part of wiring it up is hooking up this binary switch. So this is going to run to the switch that's located right here on the dryer, and then it's going to run up to the compressor and plug in with this connection onto the compressor. And then the other bottom of the binary is going to run all the way inside the cab. All right, so I got the binary switch wired up, just 2 wires, one running from the compressor, one running inside the cab. Cleaned all that up, zip tied. Can't really see anything, it's pitch black under the engine bay. I tried to shine some light, but tomorrow when I get over Zach's, I'll do a walk around and show you everything in the daylight. But I want to get this cover back on here, run the drain plug. That's the only thing that's left on the inside, and that's it. It's not too bad, but as you can see, whoo-wee, I beat up my hands from reaching in between the radiator and all that stuff. I need to go ahead and put my fan back on and all that as well. But wrapping it up. So we've got this drain line to run. We have to connect 2 of these drain lines to a T, and then that T will go in the firewall somewhere to drain out the excess moisture. Tight as I can here. It's kind of freestyling here. I'm going to do the best that I can to show you the wiring on here. So mounted it up. There's a power, ground, ignition, and a wire that goes up to the binary switch. So you can see the blue wire going to the binary switch. I've got it running through the hole here in the firewall. That runs all the way up. So I've got the ignition run to this power bank right here. That's all ignition. The power is ran to this little fuse that comes from the battery, and then it goes to the painless harness as well. All this stuff is behind my glove box. It's kind of how I mounted up the LS. In case you've never seen this, this is the factory computer. This is the factory part of the computer as well. The painless LS harness, there's a fuse box right there, and then I loomed up everything, made it look really nice. It goes to the firewall right here that runs to the front. I know it's a lot of wires, but I organized it to the best of my ability. None of this stuff is flopping around or live. It looks pretty good once the glove box and everything's on there. But yeah, I've got this. When I turn the key over, so we've got air and different levels. This switch is going to control the different levels that it blows out, the intensity of it, and then this is the thermostat on this side. But I've got to get it charged up tomorrow, so I'm going to go over Zach's. Now I just need to get the glove box back on, and that's pretty much it. You saw that I did the drain. It gets moved over and then teed, and then that drain just goes to the floor right there. I could have done it up here. A lot of people do it through the firewall right there, but my firewall is clean and I want to keep it that way. So I just ran everything a little bit behind the carpet right here, but it looks fine. I'm happy with it. I hope that it works tomorrow and it blows really, really cold. That way I can drive this thing to C10s in the city and be cool. Alright, it's getting cold. Zach shaking it up. Got it cranked up all the way. I mean, it feels cold right now. I think he's got a thermometer. We'll check it. But golly, already I was sweating on the drive here. Oh yeah, that's feeling good. Lines are ran through the floor right there. Oh yeah, check this out. I've got these cup holders that fit in the Snowden that hold your airlift. It's made for your phone, but it holds the airlift perfect. Hey, what's up everybody? It's been a couple weeks since I've had the vintage air installed. I was able to go to C10s in the city. It worked great. I just got back from C10. I've got Lucky here. We're doing some more work to Lucky. But here's Francis. I wanted to show you a little bit one more time how this AC is ran in the daylight. So here is the dryer and the binary switch, how it's hooked up. I've got the lines that are going through the radiator support here along the frame. Here's how it's ran through the firewall, just along the frame rail, zip tied. You can see the binary switch wire is right here running up to the compressor and then through the radiator support up here to the dryer. I mean, you can barely even see it. If you're not looking for it, you don't even really see it at all. Here's how it's ran on the inside in the daylight. There's more of the drain. The line ran, it's teed, and then that's ran through the firewall right there through grommets. But pretty easy to do. Takes a little bit of time, but I'm super happy with it. So thankful to have air now. Thanks again for watching the video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get alerts every time I post a video. I've got 2 or 3 videos I'm working on right now that I want to post within the next couple weeks. So I'm playing catch up after C10, but now I've got the time. I can't wait to show you all the stuff that I've been up to. We're getting ready to install actuators on the bed, so this thing is going to tilt up, and I've got the video for that coming soon. So lots more to come. You don't want to miss it. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. And don't forget to check out the website, simpleC10.co. I've got all my videos, all the parts, and all the merch, all the things to support me to keep making these videos. So hope everybody has a great week. Thank you again. Peace.